Welcome back to TEYARA SMP, the TNP Limitless 7 series, and this week I promise this actually will be a fairly quick video, because as I was preparing to do what I was initially planning on doing, which is to say the roof, we have put in a whole bunch of additional structure, and, well, I was going to put in all of the wood that I was thinking about using for the rest of the roofing, but then something else caught my attention. Now, you may recall, and we've got some footage on screen theoretically, that my chimney was throwing smoke into the body of the building, and that is a health violation. That is definitely not good for anybody living here, and now, burp, now we fixed that. Now you might be thinking, oh, he just totally disabled the smoke particles or whatever. And the answer is no. And if we look on up, we can see that we've got proper chimney action. So let's go ahead and take a schematic of this into the creative world, and I'll strip it down and show you what we did. Now, as you can see, we are in the creative test world, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the chimney in the same orientation that we have it on the server so that we don't accidentally change any directionality or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and paste it in as it is, and let's just get rid of all of the pesky decorative blocks that aren't really going to be there. So let's really quick explain what was going on. Advanced Chimneys is a mod that, well, yes, it adds chimneys. It's what we're using for the chimney. It's very good. But it is also what caused the problem with the fire in the first place. So you can see that we have our campfire. It's lit. It's emitting very nice looking smoke. That I think the particles were updated by that mod too. But anyway, you can see that it's also drifting in random directions, unlike vanilla Minecraft, which would just blow straight up as far as I'm aware. But naturally, if we put a block anywhere on top of it, it starts to flow up and then sort of out. And then if we try to build a chimney out of blocks kind of surrounding it and just try to route this thing the way that we had been in the server, it kind of works. But then the problem is, sometimes it will catch on the underside of a block, and yeah, exactly there. It will scatter kind of unpredictably, and that's not what we want. Advanced Chimneys caused the problem, but it also fixes the problem. So we have several Advanced Chimneys blocks that I think frankly makes it look a lot nicer, and I generally like the idea of needing to manage your smoke indoors anyway. So let's start at the bottom. We have a stone pump. The reason that we're doing it like this, as opposed to if you were to take a look at, say, the CurseForge page for the mod, they would have just a chimney over the campfire, maybe like a block or two over the campfire, and that would just suck up the smoke vertically. That makes sense. However, we need to keep this, all of the air between the depot and the campfire, clear for create. Then, in order to do that, we need the stone pump, as I said. So what it does is it takes a redstone signal in order to power it, of course, which we have under the nether bricks with this lever. And I will say that lever usage was really difficult in this build because of all of the components that we have that can possibly lock when exposed to redstone. So there are some build things that I had to do with the vertical slabs and other blocks, and basically just make sure that I'm powering the stone pumps indirectly so that I'm not powering anything next to them that's crucial. But we have a stone pump directly next to the campfire. What you will see on the CurseForge page is that they have pumps next to other heat sources, such as furnaces, etc., that allow you to route the smoke like horizontally from them, and I just kind of assumed that, okay, if you can do this with a furnace, you might be able to do it with a campfire. Continuing on up, we have some chimneys for a little bit. That makes perfect sense. It's just a vertical smoke conveyance. That's what a chimney does. Then we have vents. Vents operate just a little bit differently. So if you just put some vents in sideways, it doesn't know where you want the smoke to exit. And I think, let me just go ahead and pick up one of these before I do this. So I think if I take this out, what's going to happen is we're going to see smoke start coming out of the vents just willy-nilly. And I'm kind of right. What I think, I'm not 100% sure. So the smoke is either venting out of the vents, as I thought it would, or it sees a vent and it doesn't know what to do with that vent. And so it might just be coming out of the chimney block, and because it's hitting the vent, it's then scattering like it would elsewhere. But I think it might actually be using the vents, especially because we're seeing some smoke emissions over here. And then, in order to route it the way we want it to, as opposed to just coming out of the sides like this, which could be valid in another build if you really wanted to, but in this build, we still want the smoke coming up, and sometimes it does. Sometimes it will vent, I guess, out of this side of the block, and then flow up the chimney like you would expect it to. In order to control that, you can place another pump on the end of your vents, or not even on the end. You can have a vent section that sort of tees in like this, and anything like a smoke source that's under here will also then flow up and then up into there. Now, initially what I tried to do, or had wanted to do, was have a couple of vents under here and then have chimneys going up into both of these. Unfortunately, that didn't really work out with where we needed to put the redstone. Hang on. I've just had a thought about how I could potentially improve this. So we've just experimentally determined that if you put two pumps next to each other, they don't actually function like vents. They will prioritize whichever pump is closer to the source, at least if they are in line. Let me just try really quick putting in a stone vent here, and maybe that will cause a different routing. Yeah, no, I was kind of afraid of that. So basically, like I said, it just picks the closest pump and then uses that as the output. So we can't get smoke out of both chimneys this way. There might be some other way to do this if I were more familiar with the mod, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with smoke just coming out of the large chimney. But let's undo our additions real quick. So we have now restored the behavior, and you can see that the smoke is flowing through the larger chimney once again. Now you're probably wondering why do we have it look like this when on the server it was totally different? Well, that's the nice thing about this mod. If we search up Chimney, you can see that there is a wooden paintbrush, and you make that with just a stick and some wheat, I believe, and then all you need after that is some dye, and I'm pretty sure it can be any color. So just to prove that out, let's go ahead and grab a full stack of 64 there. And then you need the block that you want to mimic in your offhand, which I don't see the slot, so we're just going to use the F key to do that. Oh, that's that. Okay. And then you also need a bucket of water, which is not consumed when you are doing what we are about to do. So you hold the block that you want to mimic in your offhand, you hold the paintbrush in your right hand, and right-click, and it takes on the appearance of whatever block you want. So for instance, I guess we could swap to sand if we really wanted to, and, well, that's, I don't like it, but I'm assuming if you were to use brick or smooth sandstone, this might look a little bit better as a chimney. But just to illustrate what that looks like when everything's painted on, we have, oh, and you can also do these chimneys up here too. And as I said, we are using the small brick chimney for the non-functioning one. Then we have a large brick chimney into a small brick chimney. And that just kind of illustrates that you can use any combination of chimneys like this. And, that also makes me wonder, can I put a large one on top of the small one? You can do that. Interesting. I don't think I want to do that here, but that makes me want to do that somewhere else. Now, there are a couple of other blocks that we didn't use in the chimney mod, and that mostly is the pump pipe, which can be used to pipe smoke using the pumps. And I don't know if you can only make this go vertically, but like in the mod example on CurseForge, they had a chimney underneath a furnace, and then a hopper underneath that chimney into a pipe, into what was it, into a pump, and then it went out the left through a few stone vents, and then another pump to make it go up, and finally into the pump network that they created on the graphic, and then up into the sky. So this really illustrates that you can daisy chain a whole bunch of different concepts here, and including vanilla hopper usage to redirect smoke. We also didn't use the metal chimney, which I assume is just purely aesthetic. Let's see how that looks. Okay. That's definitely going to be useful somewhere down the road. And let me also see what the pipe does. If we just put it on top, is it going to let us vent? No, it is not. So I suspect this has to be connected directly to a pump or possibly a hopper. Can we go horizontally with these? No, we can't. It's purely vertical. Good to know. And then lastly, we have the glass chimney, and I don't know why you would necessarily want to use that, but I don't know, maybe there's some aesthetic reason? Oh, okay, it's got that interesting sort of diamond pattern, so that could be a good decorative element if that's what you're looking for. And if we take a look at it from afar, it looks maybe just a little misshapen. I'm hoping that when I put the roof in, it's going to look just a little bit better with a whole bunch of the body covered up by roofing. But I think it looks nice. You know, we've just got the double chimney kind of aesthetic going on here. I actually used, so there are stone chimneys as we saw in the previous clip, and then we've got the larger chimney on top of that, and then we've got the smaller chimney on top of that. And so I think with the rest of the sloping we've got going on, it looks pretty good. I might try to use something other than the vertical slab for here, because it almost looks too thick before we come up in here. And that may even just be replacing this front one with some kind of a side panel. I think it's just like a wall block or something like that. We might even use like just a trapdoor, because I think that's a little bit thicker, but not too thick. But I think this looks alright, and of course it accomplishes the job of putting smoke out the top and not flooding the room. And also, over here, we can see kind of what I've got going on for the structure of the roof. What I have in my mind's eye is that we're going to take out probably some of this support structure here that kind of defines this part of the roof, and that's just the thing. I've been structuring out the different parts of the roof and then kind of deciding, okay, I'm going to cut out this part of the structure, and then we'll make the slopes kind of merge in this position, and then we'll add just a little bit more structure where the two kind of curvatures meet, and that's going to be my approach when we're building this thing. But I needed to get the framework up in order to even start thinking about how I wanted things to meet, and so this really helped out, and maybe we'll get into that next week, because I would love to finish a building for once. But that is all we are going to do this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified, and as always, I'm looking forward to your feedback in the comments below. And with that, I will catch you on the flip side. Thanks for watching, everybody! In the upper left is the next video in the series, or a video you might like. In the lower left is the series playlist, and on the right is my icon by which you can subscribe. Thanks again for watching!